With that, Mr Margrave, over to you for your 3 minutes introduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'm here on behalf of the campaign for a Bedworth Town Council. I hope that you will put people before politics today and seriously consider the opportunity of exploring a town council for Bedworth. Wild claims are often made about the cost of a town council, including using examples of councils that have large buildings or overhead, which Bedworth won't. And it's said by those who may be worried about losing power, it's another layer of politicians or won't be of any benefit, which is not true.
Can I just stop you there, Mr Margrave? It doesn't appear your microphone is on. Is the light on?
No.
Try the one next to you. It's on. It came on, then it's on.
Shall I start again?
That's fine. If you wish to start again, that's fine.
Sorry, apologies. Thank you, Chair. I'm here on behalf of the campaign for a Bedworth Town Council. I hope you will put people before politics today and seriously consider the opportunity of exploring a town council for Bedworth. Wild claims are often made about the cost of a town council, including using examples of councils that have large buildings or overheads, which Bedworth won't. And it's said by those who are worried about possibly losing power. It's another layer of politicians or won't be any benefit, both which are not true, as we see from the west of Warwickshire, where every area has a town council. I asked the OSP to fact find and recommend a town council, inviting evidence from the likes of Warwickshire and West Midlands Association of Local Councils, experts like Professor Colin Capers or others, representatives of other town councils who were set up since 2000 to see the difference they can make, and also maybe the county who do a lot of work with town councils. They will show you that town councils save money and can deliver for their local community in a way a district or county can't. Then it costs much more to run and councillors aren't paid. I've argued for a town council for well over 20 years. Working on my PhD reinforced the benefit of town councils. They tackle a number of problems, because red or blue, you have to follow a whip, and the whip is always going to be decided by a majority of Nuneaton representatives at NBBC. So you may believe in Bedworth, but you can't fight properly for the town or put it first. Bedworth isn't currently getting its fair share of resources, the museum, toilets, offices, the council, all in Nuneaton. And you won't hold meetings in Bedworth either, so the impact is clear on democracy, the community and economic ecosystem. But localism could change that, and it can also stimulate levelling up. A town council or an area committee could empower Bedworth councillors to fix that. Each gives much needed oversight to transforming Bedworth too, and stop some of the mistakes of the past, such as the borough plan or loss of shops and services in the town. To make spending fair, I'm also asking you to consider whether the council could develop a formula and give a grant to the town to be spent via a town council or the local community and businesses on and in Bedworth. These are ideas worth looking at. It isn't an attack, it's about recognising Bedworth has missed out, and the town that never forgets has too often been forgotten. You can address that with a town council, and I would urge you to take the opportunity to at least look at it. Thank you, Chair.
Mr Margrave, would you like to turn your microphone off? Thank you. Does any member have any questions or points of clarification for Mr Margrave? Councillor Hammersley.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'd just like to correct Mr Margrave about this gang-up attitude with Nuneaton and Bedworth councillors. There is no ganging up or biased decisions from any Nuneaton councillors. We are united as one in all our decisions. And just another correction farther around about the saving hundreds of thousands of pounds in the cost of elected members' allowances. Now, Mr Margrave should know that this is not correct, because as Mr Margrave knows, when he accepted his allowances when he was a councillor, that is nowhere near that figure. Thank you, Chair.
Any further questions? Councillor Downs.
Thanks, Chair. Hey, sir. Right, a couple of questions for you. Do you live in Bedworth? Why don't you?
Well, I'm a local lad and I grew up in Bedworth. And my family are all there, and I volunteer with community groups. I'm answering the question, Chair, if I might do. I do a lot of work in the town. I'm always often there. It's my home and it's in my heart. And I have looked at moving back to Bedworth. I'm there a lot. You know, unfortunately I've been beaten by landlords that are quick to offer rising prices and increasing interest rates. Now, living 2 miles away from the border does not mean I won't stop caring about Bedworth, a town that I grew up in, that I spend a lot of time in, that I give a lot of time to, and that I've represented. It's not about politics. I've continued to raise this for decades. Labour wouldn't listen. I hope the Conservatives might change things. That's what I voted for. So I don't really know that, you know, the question isn't relevant to the point I'm making. Whether somebody lives in Bedworth or not, it's about the best for Bedworth, and I'd like to see a town council, as an academic who has worked in local government. That's my point.
You asked a simple yes or no question. I allowed you to speak and give a reason, but I think the answer's quite clear there. Councillor Downs, did you have any further points?
Yeah, I do, Chair. Okay, thank you. Right, I'll ask these in quick succession, so hopefully Mr Margrave will be able to answer on himself after. So, my next question, will Mr Margrave be paying towards this new town council, being that he's not at the moment a resident in Bedworth? Next question, I'd like to know where he gets his figures from, because they're pie in the sky figures. Because, I mean, I've got family that live in Nuneaton, I've got family that live in Warwick. They pay way more than what is quoted in his figures. Thirdly, why does he wish to burden the people of Bedworth with an extra layer of bureaucracy and cost? Okay. And what makes him think that NBBC are going to give Bedworth Town Council grants? They've just about got enough money to sort themselves out. So where did he get the grants from? That's it, Chair. Thank you.
Mr Margrave, there's a couple of points there. Perhaps you can give an answer.
Thank you, Chair.
A succinct answer would be useful.
Yeah, so trying to take all those questions. First of all, where do I get my evidence from? Or the things that I'm putting forward? Well, as an academic and as somebody who spent a lot of time researching this, everything I've said is evidence. Everything is factual. There's nothing pie in the sky. I personally think that a grant model, which is something other areas have adopted, would work better. And so I think that I've kind of outlined why I think the rest of Warwickshire have a town council. Why would you want to deprive and stop Bedworth having a town council when every other area in Warwickshire has one and is benefiting from it? It doesn't seem fair to me.
Thank you, Mr Margrave. Any members got any more points? Councillor Baxter and then Councillor Harvester.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to come back to something that's just been mentioned. In this work programme suggestion, we're being asked to review a nil and therefore no extra cost to the taxpayers of Bedworth, a town council. That is listed in number 2 of the desired outcome of the review. Yet I'm reading a paragraph here that says, therefore, a precept in Bedworth is more likely to be around £10 to £15 per head. So there will be a precept to the residents of Bedworth, and there'll also be a precept to the residents of the borough, the whole borough. Because if the council is to issue a grant to Bedworth Town Council, then there will be a cost to it, and it will go across the whole of the borough. So I'm a bit confused as to whether it's a nil precept or a £10 to £15 per household precept.
Mr Margrave, there's clearly a thing, but we're not here to debate that. Members have just raised a fairly valid point. Councillor Harvester.
Thank you, Chair. As a small government libertarian, it tickles me pink, the idea of less government. It genuinely does. Any other time, I would be completely on your side. However, bearing in mind that we sat on Wednesday to decide to pass through the ideas for the new boundary changes, the various things that are going on. There's a very good chance there'll be a general election next year. In principle, I absolutely support what you're saying, Sam, 100%. However, it's right idea, wrong time for me, which is why I can't support it. It's not, bring it back when things have settled down, and there's a good chance I'll support it. But at this point I just can't. So it's more of an opinion than a question, and that's the only reason. But like I say, good idea, wrong time, just one man's view. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Batterfield.
Just one quick question, Chair. I'm not sure if the officers in the room will be able to answer this tonight, but how long would this review take? And how many hours of officer time would be taken up conducting this review that we're being asked to put forward into the work suggestion?
Would you like to answer that, Martin?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. So, if the council were to elect to undertake a community governance review, the full gamut of let's review the governance arrangements, they can take 12 to 18 months depending on the scale of them. One of the questions that council would need to consider was whether it wanted to just review the governance arrangements for Bedworth, or whether it wanted to look wholesale across the patch. Because, you know, I think a lot of areas often, if they're being looked at, can we be looked at as well? That will change the scale of the review. If a petition were to come forward, which is one of the suggestions that may happen, we have 12 months in order to do the review, so we can't make it longer. I can't really speak to officer time. It depends on the scale of review and what we're being asked to look at, and that's the decision of the council. That's okay.
Thank you. Councillor Condon. Sorry, I didn't see that.
Thank you, Chair. I'm very concerned about the timing of this, because as you obviously know, you've won the bid to run Bedworth Civic Hall potentially, and you're currently the chair of the CIC. So I can't understand how you've got the bandwidth to do both a town council and mobilise to try and raise funds to do the Civic Hall work. So would you agree it would be better to park the town council for a year and get one thing running first, or do you really believe you can do all this at the same time?
Can I? Sorry, just 1 second. I need to answer the question earlier on.
If you want to answer Councillor Condon's question, you.
Yeah, I never got to answer the question of Councillor Baxter Payne, but first of all, my understanding about this evening is you clarified to councillors this evening and to me was that this was about councillors having the opportunity to look at it, and that would save the council money and time of not having to do a petition. And you could get evidence, you get people in to ask them questions, experts, and the whole point is that, you know, you haven't got very much on the agenda tonight, and I was just thinking as councillors, you could maybe look at, would this be something that could benefit Bedworth? Because it benefits the rest of Warwickshire. I know that some of you have been out supporting councillors or people standing for election to town councils elsewhere in the county, or your parties at least do. So why shouldn't Bedworth have a town council? So I was simply asking for the OSP to look at the evidence and to bring back some kind of report to then consider it. Now, as for waiting a year, it was 2 years ago that I suggested, and then prior to that many years, and you, councillor, promised in 2010 a town council or parish council for Weddington, and that never materialised. So I think it's well time that this council considered it. Now, I only want them to consider on a very small amount.
I think you've answered the question now.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Condon, going on with the question.
Can I ask the officers a question now? Can we move on to...
No, the question is in response to the statement, but if you have a question for Martin, feel free.
Yeah, I clearly am a supporter of localising government down, but obviously that involves also reducing the size of Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough Council, because where we have parish councils, they do things like graveyards and parks, and they have their own little civic functions and things. So effectively, it's not just creating a new thing, it's actually moving some things from a borough council to be Hartsell Parish Council, whether they do play areas and everything. But we'd have to do it all to be logistically right. We can't have different parts having parish councils and different parts being run by the borough. So there's talk of a big rework of local government. Yeah, changing the county council, maybe going to unitary, 2 unitaries. Where are we with all that stuff? And does that bring us the parish and town councils? Yeah, well, is that a better way? Because if it's going to take us 18 months and the county is looking at local government organisation across Warwickshire, isn't it better to A, wait for that process, and B, in any process, can we make sure we don't do a process for Bedworth, we do a process for Bedworth, Bulkington, Nuneaton, yeah. So those 2 areas I need some clarification on.
Just feel free to answer the part you can come to the answer.
I was just going to say, the local government reorganisation at the macro scale, that's outside my pay grade. But you do raise an interesting point, which is around this maximum of finance following the function. So were the council to decide to grant over the town council, if it were created, a certain amount of things, the functions would need to follow it. And the idea being then that this council stops doing some things, delegates functions to a parish council instead, the finance would follow that. That's one of the important things to consider here, is not just create it and then it costs money, but what local government functions it would undertake. They are very different across different parishes, and we do have a situation where we do have parish and unparished areas in other parts of the county. So it's possible to have just Bedworth having its own town council with its own functions. You wouldn't have to have a similar setup in Nuneaton, for example, as well. I think that's part of your question.
Councillor Collins.
Yeah, I think my question is, if we get asked to do a review, do we automatically do a review for parishing and town council in the whole borough? Because obviously Bulkington's very cut off. Yeah, it's even more in need of its own thing, and Nuneaton would ideally have the same mirrored what Bedworth had.
So, no, we don't have to do the whole area. If we were to receive a petition, we would just respond to the petition, but we could take the opportunity to look wider. You know, if we're going to do this, let's look wider. But no, we don't have to do a review for other areas that it hasn't been requested for. So we could just look at Bedworth, just sort it out. And if other areas, other areas would then probably, oh, can we have one as well then? And end up doing 3 reviews in sequence then, rather than one larger one, which might be more efficient, I suppose.
Thank you. Any further questions or observations? Which case I have a couple of points, because I appreciate the work that's gone into this, Mr Margrave, and the passion with which he has brought it forward. I did a quick check on Kersley Parish Council, because my own ward includes part of Kersley, another part of it's within Coventry, and yet that Coventry part has a parish council. And the average cost to the houses within Coventry that fall within Kersley is £50 per year, and that parish council has a total budget of £11,000 or £11,500 a year, of which more than 50% goes on its parish clerk, PAYE, hire of a building to hold meetings, and mandatory council's insurance in case somebody says something they shouldn't. So I understand that you're going for a grant, you want it to be grant funded, and there's nothing in here about who would pay for the admin of dealing with the grant funding, and whether the grant would be fully funded by Bedworth council taxpayers or across the borough, which I suspect would be across the borough, and that's where we get calls for other places. Now, I do have a lot of sympathy with this, so I'm just going to put it to the vote and see what members think. Right? So I would say all of those who are in favour of Councillor
can I, before we go to a vote, because it might have any thingy, can we vote to do something after the next election, i.e. Because obviously it's going to be a long process anyway, and it doesn't make sense 5 months before.
Councillor, we have a work programme suggestion here before us to add it to the work programme. It's as simple as that. It's not can we add it in 6 months' time. So, or in the next municipal year. Councillor Baxter.
I was just going to say, I think this is just a simple choice. Do we or don't we? Is it a benefit or isn't it a benefit? That is the choice we're being asked to make, because if we vote to put this into the work programme suggestion, all of that officer time that we've just discussed in here will come to light at some point, because it will have to be looked at. And as an OSP, I don't think this can be looked at as an OSP without officer input, because there's some serious legal questions in it that will need answering as part of any review. Because as we've already discussed, what level do we delegate services? What level do we go to? What's the implications of doing that? So this isn't something that I think an OSP or a working party without officer input can sit down and look at. So to me, this is a simple choice of, is it something of benefit or isn't it something of benefit?
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Watkins.
Yeah, thank you. This ain't really a question. This is just food for thought, really. It's there would be a lot of things to think about. Thinking about this, so you'd have to get the Parks Department, for instance, to divide up how much you spent on Boys Welfare compared to how much you spent on Riverswood Park, how much you spent on different parks in Bedworth, and how much you spent on different parks. So you'd have to have the Parks Department, you'd have to have just about every department within the council looking at something. It'd be a massive piece of work to do. So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention, really. This wouldn't be a quick win. This wouldn't be something you'd be doing in the next 6-7 months.
With that, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour of adding this to the work programme, please show. Against? Thank you. Thank you, Mr Margrave.
Chair,
Councillor Condon.
can I ask we actually leave a note for the next administration to consider this though? Because I say I'm only voting against it for now, so obviously we can't tell the next administration what to do, but I think it needs to be sort of flagged that it might be something that does need looking at.
I don't think we can bind a future administration to any course of action, Councillor.
I wasn't suggesting that, Chair.
With that, moving on to item 8, the forward plan, page 18 of your agenda.